Our soap stash is getting a little bit low right now, so I am going to bring you along while I make up a batch of one of our family's favorite soaps, which is for a mint, lavender, and rosemary soap. There are a couple of different options for the mold that you choose to use. If you prefer a larger artisan style soap bar like this one, you will use a loaf style mold like this. It will require you to cut the bars after they have set in the mold. If you like more of a standard size soap bar, you can also use a silicone mold like this one, and they will just pop out without any cutting or anything. You can really use any silicone mold that you have at home, or even just a box, a cardboard box lined with parchment paper will work just fine as well, which will also require some cutting, but it really doesn't take much to make up a batch of handcrafted soap bars for your family at home using pure, simple ingredients. So I'm going to share with you that process right now.
Before jumping into soap making, always look ahead at your recipe to set out all of the supplies and ingredients you will use from the beginning of soap making to the very end. There will come a time where you'll have to work very quickly to get the soap into the molds before it thickens. You won't want to be scrambling around for a supply or an ingredient during this time. After setting out all of your supplies and ingredients, the first step is to measure out the water using a kitchen scale. After measuring the water and setting it aside, it's time to measure the lye. You'll notice I'm wearing safety goggles and gloves. When working with lye, it's important to protect your skin and to protect your eyes. You want to pour your lye in a well-ventilated area or near an open window and keep the room clear of children and pets. When combining lye and water, always pour the lye into the water and not the water into the lye. Stir the lye into the water until it's fully dissolved, then set it aside in a well-ventilated area where it will not be disturbed while it's cooling down. Now that our lye water is mixed and cooling down, it's time to weigh out our solid oils and get those melting. You'll melt your solid oils over the stovetop in a pot on low heat. Go ahead and add in the olive oil once the solid oils have begun melting. Once these base oils and the lye water have reached a temperature between 100 and 130 degrees within 10 degrees of each other, it will be time to combine them.
Now that our lye water and our melted oils have reached their desired temperature, it's time to add the lye water to the melted oils, and you're going to do that using a fine mesh strainer so that any bits of lye that have not dissolved will not make their way into the soap. Now that our lye water has been poured into the melted oils, it's time to use that stick blender, and you're going to want to put the stick blender all the way to the bottom of the pan until it's touching the pan, and you're going to give it 3 short bursts. And then you're going to stir slowly, and again give it 3 short bursts until your soap has reached a light trace.
You'll know that your soap has reached trace when it thickens up to a custard-like consistency. Once you begin blending, the soap batter should reach trace within 10 minutes. When removing the stick blender, you will see an impression or a trace left behind at the top of the soap batter. While the lye water and solid oils were cooling, I measured out the essential oils and dried rosemary, and now it's time to add those in after our soap has reached trace. Use a whisk to stir the essential oils and herbs in gently for about 1 minute.
Now that our herbs and our essential oil is mixed into that soap batter, it is ready to pour.
While the soap batter is wet, you can use a kitchen utensil to make a pretty soap top. Insulate your soap with a kitchen towel while it sets in the mold for 24 hours. After 24 hours, gently remove the soap from its mold. Use a soap cutting tool to cut your soap into 1-inch bars. The curing time for cold processed soap takes about 28 days. Set them on a shelf where they can be undisturbed and spaced out enough where they can receive plenty of airflow. Check them in about 4 to 5 weeks and they should be ready to use.
When they're fully cured, they're going to be very hard, so they're going to feel different than they do right now. That lye water needs time to fully evaporate out of the soap, and that's what gives you that hard bar of soap with a really good silky smooth lather, and they will be safe to use on your skin once they are fully cured. If you decide to make this soap at home, you can find the full recipe with supplies and ingredients linked down below.